The night was loud inside Rusty Wheel Tavern, the kind of roadside bar where the smell of beer, smoke, and leather told stories of 1,000 rough nights. Neon lights flickered against the cracked wooden walls, and the sound of laughter mixed with the deep rumble of engines outside. In that dim chaos, no one noticed the small woman sitting quietly in the corner until fate decided to turn every head toward her. She wore a plain white shirt, slightly worn jeans, and carried an air of quiet humility. Her name was Emily Carter, a waitress who had been working double shifts just to make rent. To most people there, she was invisible, just another small-town woman trying to survive. But tonight, she'd walked into the wrong place at the wrong time, unaware that her strength was about to be tested in front of the hardest crowd of all, a pack of outlaw bikers. The bar door slammed open, and the room seemed to shake. In came Reed Lawson, the leader of the Iron Serpents, a man whose presence could silence a room in seconds. His long beard, tattooed arms, and leather vest told everyone he wasn't someone you crossed. Behind him followed a dozen men, rough, scarred, and laughing like they owned the place. Emily lowered her gaze, hoping to stay out of sight, but luck was not her friend tonight. Reed ordered drinks for his crew, throwing cash on the counter, his voice booming through the air. But when Emily accidentally spilled a little beer while refilling his glass, the laughter died and the bar turned cold. Reed's eyes narrowed. "Watch what you're doing, sweetheart," he growled, his tone sharp enough to slice through steel. The room went silent. Emily stammered an apology, clutching her tray nervously, her voice trembling. But that only made the men chuckle. To them, she looked like easy prey, a woman too timid to fight back. If you believe that kindness and second chances can change even the hardest hearts, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your support helps. Keep stories of hope and courage alive. Reed leaned closer, smirking. "What's a delicate thing like you doing serving bikers, huh? Don't you know where you are?" The others laughed, egging him on. He circled her like a wolf toying with a rabbit. Emily kept her eyes low, whispering, "Just trying to do my job, sir." Her politeness seemed to irritate him even more. Maybe it was her calmness, or maybe something in her quiet tone reminded him of a world he'd long forgotten. Whatever it was, he reached forward, gripping the edge of her shirt near the collar, as if to intimidate her, a gesture meant to shame her, not harm her. The fabric tore slightly, the sound echoing like thunder through the stunned silence. Everyone froze. And then, beneath the torn cloth, something glimmered. A tattoo inked over her chest. A proud, unmistakable emblem, the United States Marine Corps insignia with the words Semper Fidelis, always faithful. For a moment, even the laughter died. Reed's hand froze midair. His face, once mocking, turned pale. The rest of the bikers leaned forward, eyes widening as realization set in. Emily wasn't just a waitress, she was a veteran. Her voice broke the silence, calm but filled with quiet power. "That's for my brother," she said softly. "He never made it back from Fallujah. I got this to carry him with me." No one spoke. The entire bar seemed to hold its breath. Reed slowly let go of her shirt, his fingers trembling slightly. The weight of her words hit him like a brick wall. This wasn't the weak woman he thought she was. She was stronger than any of them. Emily straightened herself, holding her ground. "You think you're tough because you ride with your brothers," she said, her voice steady now. "My brother died with his, so don't you dare disrespect what that means." The room remained silent. Even the jukebox seemed to stop playing. The men who moments ago were laughing now stared in shame, unable to meet her eyes. Reed took a step back, his jaw tight. He'd been in bar fights, survived gang wars, and stared death in the face, but nothing had ever cut him like this woman's quiet dignity. I didn't know," he muttered. His voice cracked, and for the first time, the mask of the invincible biker began to fade. Emily nodded slightly. "Most people don't," she whispered. "They just see what they want to see." She turned and started to walk away, the torn fabric still hanging loosely from her shoulder, but her head held high. And that image, a simple woman standing tall after being humiliated, revealing the heart of a Marine, burned itself into every soul present. Reed couldn't look away. Memories flooded back. His father had served once, too. A man who had come home broken, only to die young. Reed had grown up angry at the world, blaming everyone for his pain. But standing there, seeing the same symbol inked on that woman's chest, he felt something crack open inside. a guilt, a regret, a longing for redemption. He motioned to the bartender. "Pay her month's wages," he said quietly. Then, turning to his men, "No one disrespects her, ever." His voice, once filled with arrogance, now carried a weight of remorse. Emily hesitated, surprised. "You don't have to," but he cut her off gently. "I do," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "For what I did, for what we forget." That night, the Rusty Wheel Tavern changed. The bikers who used to rule the bar, with fear, now treated Emily like family. She didn't seek revenge or pity. She forgave them silently, which somehow made their guilt even heavier. Over the weeks that followed, Reed started showing up more often, but this time not as a king of chaos. He sat quietly at the bar, ordering coffee instead of whiskey, listening to Emily's stories about her brother, about courage, loss, and loyalty. He never interrupted, never mocked her again. Something in him had changed forever. He found out she had been honorably discharged after an injury overseas. She'd returned home to take care of her late brother's daughter, a little girl named Lily, just 6 years old. They lived in a small trailer outside of town, struggling to get by. When Reed heard that, he went home that night and sat in silence for hours, staring at the marine emblem he'd once seen as just another tattoo. He couldn't shake the feeling that he owed her, not just for the night in the bar, but for reminding him what real strength looked like. A week later, Reed and his crew rode out to Emily's trailer. The sound of engines echoed across the dusty road, making her step outside with worry. But when she saw them carrying tools, wood and paint, she realized they weren't here for trouble. Without saying much, Reed began repairing her porch. The others followed, fixing the fence, cleaning up the yard. Emily stood there speechless, tears welling up in her eyes. "Why are you doing this?" she asked softly. Reed looked at her and said, "Because you fought for this country. The least we can do is fight for you." From that day on, the bikers protected her and Lily like family. They made sure she never had to work double shifts again. On Veterans Day, Reed even organized a charity ride, donating all the proceeds to support local veterans. Emily was there, standing proudly among them, no longer just the quiet woman in the corner, but a symbol of honor that had transformed an entire group of lost men. Months passed, and the Rusty Wheel Tavern gained a new reputation, not for fights or chaos, but for kindness. Veterans from nearby towns started coming in, greeted with respect and gratitude. A small plaque hung near the bar with the words, "For those who served, always faithful." Underneath, the marine emblem, hand-carved by Reed himself. Sometimes Emily would sit quietly in the corner again, watching as laughter filled the room. Reed would nod at her from across the bar, a silent acknowledgement of the night that changed everything. Because that night, in one moment of humiliation and revelation, two broken worlds collided, one built on pain, the other on courage, and somehow they healed each other. Years later, Reed would tell the story to every new member of his club. "You think you're tough," he'd say, "but you don't know tough until you've met someone who wears courage in her heart." And then he'd nod toward the plaque, reminding them what real loyalty means. Emily's story became a legend, not just in that bar, but across the biker community. A reminder that respect can come from the most unexpected places, and redemption is always possible, even for the hardest souls. If this story touched your heart, if you believe in respect, redemption, and the unseen strength of good people, please like this video, share it with others, and subscribe for more stories that restore faith in humanity. Before you go, tell me in the comments, what would you have done if you were in that bar that night? Would you have stood up for Emily, or stayed silent? This story is a work of fiction created for emotional and inspirational storytelling. Any resemblance to real persons or events is purely coincidental.